A border city company is making cutting-edge technology that is used to extract oil not just within Alberta or Canada, but worldwide. ICI Artificial Lift is the maker behind the hydraulic pump jack. Anika Nottveit has more.
It's a busy morning for these employees at ICI Artificial Lift. The guys are busy building motors for hydraulic pump jacks. The piece of equipment is a vertical cylinder that helps extract oil from the ground.
I believe they're replacing a lot of the horse head systems because they're a little more user-friendly. They're a lot quicker setup, tear down, if there's any maintenance to do to them.
This efficient technology, built and developed in Lloydminster, is putting this city on the map internationally.
It's phenomenal how much these things are capable of doing, and how much, like, the phone rings off the wall every day. The guys want more and more.
The hydraulic pump jacks have been installed efficiently in more than 14 foreign countries since 2004.
Typically, I think some of it is replacing the equipment, but typically it's a lot easier to ship, it's a lot easier to handle, it's a lot easier to install once it's down there. It only takes, a couple hours, you're done the job, that well's flowing.
The company was ranked 29th in a list of the fastest growing businesses in the province by Alberta Ventures magazine in 2012. The demand for the product and innovations in the industry are not slowing down, and neither will ICI. Anika Nottveit, Newcap News.
In this week's Retrospect, this week from the archives, Brian Hardy brings us two stories about plans for a new Lloydminster Civic Square. And we catch up with a young Richard Starke, who was an alderman at the time.
This week in 1989, the seed of the Civic Square was sown.
Last night, Council decided they're going to pay a consultant $27,500 to develop a Civic Square concept plan. It'll help them decide what to do with the 10 acres of land the former Meridian and Winston Churchill schools sit on. But Alderman Barb Foster isn't sure a Civic Square is needed. She says the property might be better used commercially, and the city might have gotten public input before a consultant was hired. But other aldermen don't agree.
Civic Square has got a lot of potential, and I don't want to see the last remaining major area that could be developed into additional commercial property.
City Council says it's time to picture a new City Hall for the next millennium.
It's February 1998, and the need for that Civic Square is greater than ever.
As it sits, city services are split between two buildings downtown. The mayor's office is here at City Hall, and a block away is the old post office building, home to council chambers. So what they want to do is amalgamate all the operations under one roof, and while they're at it, put up a new public library.
The proposed site is where the old Meridian School sits. There are 4 options. One is combining the civic building with the library and tag it on to a renovated Meridian School. Option 2 is attaching a new civic building to a renovated school and build a separate library. Number 3 is rip down the school and build a new 2-in-1 City Hall and library. And finally, the 4th plan involves tearing down the school and building a separate library and a separate civic building. Richard Ozero, NewsHour.
Join us next week for some space training with the 4-Wing on Retrospect, this week from the archives.
Retrospect this week from the archives is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
If you're involved in a motor vehicle crash, would you know what to do? In this month's RCMP feature, we sit down with police to talk about the do's and don'ts of reporting a crash, including what to do in a hit-and-run situation. I'm sitting here with Constable Ken Rhodenizer. Thank you so much for joining us. We are talking about basically traffic when it comes to accidents. Now, I know for some people they may not understand, but if someone is involved in a car accident, what warrants them to stick where they are in the location and call police, and then what warrants them to actually move out of the way and exchange information?
The first thing you want to do if you are involved in a collision would be, if you're able to, if it's safe to, move your vehicle off to the side of the road and allow traffic to flow. At that point, you can contact our office. You can either contact by calling 911 or the main line for the office at 306-825-6350. And what makes an accident reportable to the RCMP is if there's over $2,000 of property damage, or, since we are in the unique case of being a border city, if you're involved in opposite province plated vehicles. So if a Saskatchewan vehicle hits an Alberta plated vehicle, that automatically makes it reportable to us.
Okay, so that might be something that some people may not know. So different license plate warrants a phone call. Now, we were talking, another big issue right now is hit and runs. Now, I know Edmonton police were talking about how they've seen such a huge influx of people reporting hit and runs, and you have some surprising numbers as well for here in the border city.
Yes, since January 1st, we've responded to 63 complaints of hit and run motor vehicle collisions. We are able to solve most of these. Usually a witness will get a plate as the vehicle drives away. We're able to use our forensic identification services to do paint matches and match up the damage to the vehicles. We have a fairly high success rate in solving these crimes, and the drivers involved in these collisions can be charged under the criminal code for failing to remain, or also under the Traffic Safety Act for failing to remain at an accident scene. An important thing for owners of the vehicles to know too is that even if you weren't the driver, but if your vehicle was involved in one of these collisions, you can be liable as the owner too. So even if you weren't the driver, it's best to come in and report that someone else had your vehicle and was involved in a collision.
So for something like those, 63 for the month of January, is that a really high number? Is that much higher than in previous months, previous years?
It is a high number. When I ran it earlier today, it did alarm me a little bit. I think what's bringing that number up is the road conditions in the border city. Unfortunately, right now, is we're having a lot of people who are hitting vehicles and they panic and take off, and that always makes it worse than if you just stay and exchange your information and try and find out who the vehicle was that you hit, even if you're hitting a parked car on the side of the road.
Okay, and I think people do need to realize, though, that it is a criminal offense, like you mentioned, if you do hit someone and you take off. So it's always best just to leave a note with your information, stuff like that.
Leaving a note is good. Obviously, a note could blow away or something. It's best if you can try and track down who the owner of the vehicle is, or talk to someone at the property. If you're hitting a vehicle parked in front of a house, try and find someone to talk to.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Once again, I'm sitting here with Constable Ken Rhodenizer with the Lloydminster RCMP. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.